Hey everybody, welcome to the Bullseye channel. I hope you're doing well. Today we are going to be doing our second video on USPSA versus Bullseye, and the subject of today's video is going to be, what's the point? What is the point of USPSA? What is the point of Bullseye? We're going to be having big, fun conversations about these two popular American shooting sports. So get ready because we're going to have fun. But before we do that, the 3 rules for life. Rule 1, don't be a jerk. Rule 2, take care of yourself. Rule 3, help other people. Today we are going to be going through USPSA in pink and Bullseye in purple, and we're going to be going down each one of these categories. What is the main ask of each? What is the relationship of time? If I were to describe it in one word, what would that be? What is the nature of each sport? What is the non-shooting time? Like, what do you do when you're not shooting? And then what's the thing under the thing? Like, if you look at the grand scheme, what is like the thing that good shooters are going to spend most of their time doing? What kind of mind is best adaptable towards USPSA versus Bullseye? And then finally, stick to the end. I'm going to tell you which one I think is hardest. Big philosophical, big things. We're going to have a lot of fun here. I've been waiting to do this video for a long time. I'm really excited. I want to know what you think. If you're just like a USPSA, fanboy, and you're just like, no, Bullseye is super antiquated, it has no place. I want to know about that. I want you to talk some smack. If you're Bullseye and you're like, oh, they can't even hit nothing because they're shooting a target that's like this, and I want to hear that too. Let's have a little bit of fun and let's dig into it. Remember rule 1. But let's get started with number 1. What is the main ask of each sport? BAMSIS. There we go. A lot of words here, so I'm going to read these to you. USPSA, the main ask behind this is, given a prescribed stage, develop and perform the most efficient course of fire you are capable, allowable by the stage brief. So for those who are Bullseye shooters and don't really know, in USPSA, you show up to the match usually with very little idea of what the stage is. If you got an advanced read on like a stage, like a match book at a big match, you probably reviewed the match book. You're like, all right, this is kind of what we're doing. And then you show up and you got to kind of like see what it looks like on the deck. But in local matches, like, you might show up the day of, you turn that corner, and that is the first time you are seeing that. And then they read you a stage brief, and then you have 4 minutes as a group to figure out what the most efficient path for you is. And you show up with your speed, you show up with your accuracy, you show up with your experience. And you very quickly have to develop and perform that. Well, maybe not very quickly. You have to develop it very quickly, and then you each shoot in order, and you're timed. And your success essentially is a measure of efficiency. Best to be as accurate and quick as possible. The hit factor, which is points over time, right, rewards shooting your best shots faster, right? Like, that is basically it. Bullseye, let's move on. One sentence, what is it about? Given a known course of fire, shoot the most accurate shots you are capable in the time allowed. So in Bullseye, not only, there's just so many components that are missing from USPSA, and all of that energy is placed into the one basket of accuracy, right? So gun handling, manipulation, coming up with a stage plan, understanding the rules, being able to move quickly, knowing how to go in and out of positions, being able to shoot sort of that dynamically, all of that energy and all that stuff that a USPSA shooter worries about. In Bullseye, you are static and you are shooting at a static target, and no matter where you practice, no matter where you shoot, it's always the same, right? It's always the same. All that energy is placed right into the bucket of accuracy in Bullseye. So they're very, very different. So that is the ask. USPSA, given a prescribed stage, I didn't say an unknown stage because you might know it, given a prescribed stage, develop and perform the most efficient course of fire you are capable, allowed by the stage brief. And then Bullseye, given a known course of fire, so you don't have to come up with a course of fire, shoot the most accurate shots capable in the time allowed. There we go. All right. Number 2. Let's move on to time. BAMSIS. All right, time. In USPSA, time almost always, right, and that's why I have a little squiggly line there, is variable. So in the stage brief, that's why we have allowable by the stage brief, they'll say it's a fixed time stage if it's truly fixed. Whereas in Bullseye, time is always fixed. Now you might think, well, then that makes Bullseye like super easy, right? Like slow fire, for you USPSA shooters, slow fire, you got to make 10 shots in 10 minutes. That's 60 seconds a shot. That is all the time in the world. You would think that in that case, like time is your friend, but think about this, like that's a lot of mental energy to put into 10 shots over the course of, 600 seconds, right? I mean, that is a long time to think. And for those who don't know, in Bullseye, you're shooting, in slow fire, you're shooting 10 shots, 10 minutes, one-handed, strong arm only, at a target looks somewhat similar to this, right? Except at the long line, you're going to have the 8 is going to be black, and you are shooting that 10 shots, 10 minutes. Then they bring this thing up. It's at 25 yards. First one's at 50. And you have 20 seconds to make 5 shots. You do that twice. And then you have 10 seconds to make 5 shots. And you do that twice. That's Bullseye. So time is fixed in Bullseye. Time in USPSA, almost always variable. And the relationship is, in USPSA, it's your enemy. And Bullseye, it's your frenemy. All right, moving on. We're going to do the next 2 together because they go together. One word, which you saw in my last video, you can check out, that describes each sport. And then we're going to talk about the nature of them. This is going to be a fun one. BAMSIS! All right. Let's describe USPSA and Bullseye in one word. For those who saw the last video, the one word for USPSA is efficiency. The one word for Bullseye is perfection. The idea here is that if you had to explain USPSA, the goal of USPSA in each match, and somebody's like, this is my first match, like, what do I do? It's like, well, first it's like, don't get DQ'd, don't break the 180, but just be as efficient as possible, right? Like, shoot to your level of shooting, but move to the best of your ability through the path that you have sort of prescribed for yourself. And Bullseye, that goes completely out the window. You are aiming for perfection. You are trying to shoot perfectly every single time over long periods of time. With USPSA, that time period, again, is shortened because it's your enemy. You want it to be as small as possible. So this is really great because it brings us into the basic nature of each one of these sports. USPSA is multifaceted. It is dynamic. It is unknown and uncertain. And you're sort of in USPSA, you are chasing infinity, right? Somebody had a great comment on the last video, whereas, just because the true nature of numbers and time, there could always be a better in USPSA. All right, so you are sort of chasing the infinite. Someone could do the fastest, highest hit ratio on a classifier tomorrow, and there is theoretically a way for someone to beat it by getting the same hits, but faster. Bullseye, totally different. It is singular. It is static. Just its nature is static, but then also the shooter and the target are static. It is known. You know what you're doing when you walk into it. You are certain about what it is going to look like. Maybe not the weather so much for my friends at Camp Perry. And instead of chasing infinity, you're chasing finity in Bullseye. You know exactly what a perfect score is, and you also know that no one in the history of the sport has ever shot it. I mean, really, really interesting stuff. The way I think about it is, in USPSA, the very nature, you are confronting man's inability to do all things, right? And we're talking about time and space. In Bullseye, you are confronting man's inability to do a thing, right? They are very, very different, but you're both confronting just the basic limitations of the human experience. I'm going to introduce an analogy that I think is really helpful and kind of fun. So let's do that. USPSA is to blank, it's like SAT question, as Bullseye is to blank. Let's go. BAMSIS, there we go. USPSA is to CrossFit as Bullseye is to powerlifting. I love this analogy because people also hate on CrossFit and powerlifting, and they're also sort of contentious communities. All right, but let's evaluate this, right? If you were to read the super long, really blah, blah, blah definition of CrossFit, it would feel USPSA-like, right? Dynamic. Just think about the nature that we just discussed. Dynamic, multifaceted, uncertain, chasing infinity, confronting man's ability to do all things. That's freaking CrossFit, right? Like, that is CrossFit. Also, it looks really good on social media. There's a lot of like tight clothing, you know, and logos involved, and it's good on TV, right? Contrary to that, Bullseye is basically powerlifting. It's old. It's boring. It is freaking hard. It's putting all its eggs into the one basket. In Bullseye, it's accuracy, and powerlifting, it is strength. Powerlifting, maximal, single movements in 3 different categories. Oh my God, 3 different categories, right? You have the bench, you have the deadlift, and you have the squat. In Bullseye, you have slow fire, time fire, and rapid fire. Let's think about this. Well, so definitely slow fire is the deadlift, right? Like, that has to be it. And time fire is bench, because everybody loves time fire and everybody loves bench. And the squat is definitely rapid fire, because you always have to be training for rapid fire and you always have to be training for the squat. Damn, I like that analogy. USPSA is to CrossFit as Bullseye is to powerlifting. Let me know what you think. Now, let's get back to it. Bamsis! All right. Let's discuss non-shooting time and the thing under the thing. All right, so in USPSA, what are you doing when you're not shooting? Remember in my last video, the actual shooting time for me on deck at Area 5 was 1.2%. Of the 10 hours that I was there, I was only shooting for 1.2%. Oh my God, is that even fun? Who submits themselves to such things? So what are you doing for the other 98%? Well, non-shooting time. In USPSA, you're spending it doing scoring. You are likely and hopefully following the Steve Anderson model, and you are analyzing the stage. You are strategizing the stage. You are memorizing and you are visualizing. You need to put all this. Is really, really hard, because a lot of people just want to socialize and BS, which is point 2, point 3, and point 4 there. But in USPSA, the absolute top competitor, he or she is spending that time building the plane as they fly it, right? Saying like, what is this stage? What is the most efficient thing that I can do? What do I know is in line with my capabilities? All right, yeah, that's what I'm going to do very quickly. That's what I'm going to do. And then you got to memorize it over and over and over and over and over again. You just see yourself doing it. Then you're visualizing, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And you have to do this all while like pacing other people's targets and watching other people go, which brings me to OPP. And you know me, other people's plans. The nature of USPSA is like, you're just sitting there doing your thing while other people go one at a time. That's why friggin' you never shoot in USPSA. And you're watching other people's plans. That means somebody's plan is going to look a little bit better than yours. And you're going to go, I know I've spent like the last 35 minutes developing this plan, but that person did something different and I'm going to do what that person does. And it never goes well. OPP, other people's plans. Yeah. And so that is basically it. And you're also like BSing and socializing. In Bullseye, everybody shoots on the same relay. Everybody shoots at the same time. You walk down together. You are scoring. You are pacing, and you are negotiating, right? Because here's how it works in Bullseye. You walk up, right? And if you're a good human, you're a good Bullseye shooter, you don't go to your target to be like, oh, was that an 8 or was that a 7 or I don't even know. No, you, without looking, you go right to the person's target that you're scoring. Say as I do, not say as I say, not as I do. And then you score theirs judiciously and professionally, all right? Giving them no more points than they earned, right? And being respectful. And then you mark it down the scorecard, you mark it on their thing. And then you move to your target and you see what the other person gave for you. And if you think that one of those shots was not that 7, it was an 8, or maybe that 10 was an X, you go, hey, let me talk a little quick. Come here, buddy. And depending on your negotiation tactics and their willingness to put up with your crap, you may turn that 7 into an 8. There are ways to adjudicate. You can pay some money and you can have it scored. If you really are at disagreement, literally this is the plan. You take $2 frickin' out of your pocket and you challenge. They take the target and they take it back to other wiser shooters or referees or whatever. And those guys or gals go down it and they will say finally what it is. It almost never works, right? If the guy's not going to give it to you, the guy or gal's not going to give it to you on the line, you're probably not going to get it back with the judges. All right, so that's basically it. So scoring, negotiating, and pasting. The shooting time in Bullseye, at least in the match I had, which was 2,700 plus some EICs, was 25%. I mean, it's literally like so many more multiples of shooting time at a Bullseye match than you have at USPSA. But the thing under the thing, right? The thing under the thing, like, so if you're not shooting, both these sports, you're not shooting. what the heck are you doing, right? Like, why do they call it a shooting match? Why don't they call it a planning match for USPSA and a meditation, match for Bullseye? The thing under the thing, and this is the stuff, fun stuff. I hope you're having fun. Comment below if you are. Is that in USPSA, you are constantly, every single stage and every single minute, you are focused or should be focused on building a conscious plan. You're taking your conscious thought and you're inputting into your subconscious so that you can then perform those conscious acts with a passionate sort of non-thinking mind. You are literally building the plan and then you're going to execute the plan. There's a lot of pressure. It is very, very cyclical, right? Like, meaning like you're just like, okay, what's this stage? What's my plan? Okay, I got to go do that. That didn't go great. All right, what's this stage? What's this plan? What I got to do? I didn't do great. Hopefully you're saying you did great. In Bullseye, the thing under the thing, right? That's the thing under the thing, international sign for thing under the thing, is to remain focused on the next shot. Bullseye matches are long. There is a lot. This is where I talk about time isn't necessarily your friend in Bullseye. You have the potential to allow your conscious. If you're a Bullseye shooter, you've been shooting Bullseye for any time, your subconscious knows how to shoot a 10. It knows how to shoot an X. It knows exactly how to pull that trigger and what way to do that trigger. But your conscious mind will always, always, always fight to take center stage. And you are constantly battling, and you will start worrying about things that are other than the shot in front of you, right? You'll start worrying about, what's this score? Does this mean I'm going to EIC? What that person shoot? Oh, that guy's kind of being a little bit of a prickly pear. I don't like that. That makes me mad. Why do I come here? I don't like doing this. What is it doing? Oh my gosh, now I got a 78 on my slow fire. That means it's over, even though I just began the match. You are constantly battling to bring yourself back into the present in Bullseye, right? In USPSA, you are building your stage plan and prepping yourself to execute it subconsciously. There's a little bit of crossover here, but that is the fight. That is the thing under the thing. That is why people keep coming back. If you like doing freaking puzzles, speed puzzles and speed chess, you probably like USPSA. If you like building little figurines and you like, playing with like singular things and you want to see how to do the perfect thing just so perfectly and you just want to do it, man, you are meant for Bullseye. So that brings us to the last thing, and we're going to hammer in the last one at the end. Here we go. BAMSIS. All right, we are rounding the end here. So what kind of mind is best at USPSA? Well, from my perspective, and I'd be interested in your thoughts, an adaptable, critical mind is really, really good at USPSA. Like, I think sometimes like Bullseye shooters will deride it as like a non-thinking sport. That is absolutely not the case. If anything, Bullseye is a non-thinking sport. It's for very smart people who can turn off their brains, right? In USPSA, like, you have to think critically. In the moment, sometimes you have to think critically. You have to plan critically. You have to have an eye for everything, and your mind has to juggle like 7 or 8 different components of shooting. Like, it is a mind drain. And for Bullseye, you have to have, I did that in pink. Damn. That's all right. I like pink. It's a man's color. You have to have an accepting, non-critical mind, a trusting mind. There's a lot of really, really great books out there. There's the Bullseye Mind book. There's Zen and the Art of Archery. There is the Inner Game of Tennis. There's actually the Inner Game of Everything now. But you have to have an accepting, trusting, critical mind. There's brain 1, brain 2, all the sorts of different people talk about it differently, but that is the kind of thing that happens. Now let's get down to it. We're not going to do the BAMSIS, right? Quote below if you know what BAMSIS stands for. But we are going to go ahead and say, like, which one's harder? Just tell me which one's harder. Who wins? I just want to know, is Bullseye harder? It looks hard. Is USPSA hard? It looks easy, right? Their targets are so close. What's harder? Well, I'm going to disappoint you. For me, USPSA is harder. I mean, I hate to say it, and I don't know. Yes, I've been shooting Bullseye for 15 years. I've been shooting USPSA on and off I think I've had a USPSA membership for like 6 years. I find USPSA to be harder, personally, as a Bullseye shooter. There's a couple reasons for that, too. Like, again, it comes back to what kind of mind you have. Like, I'd like to think that I have a largely accepting, trusting mind. And I really like to do singular things. Like, I like to just aim in and focus, right? It is calming to me. It is Zen-like. I used to have like headaches, and this is before I shot Bullseye really, and I would go to the range and my headache would disappear. There's something about focusing on a single thing and doing that single thing as best as you can, it's like, I can't describe it in any other way as like transcendental. And from like where it's like I've said this before, shooting a time fire sometimes, if it's going really well, I feel like I'm watching someone else do it. I would think, boy, this person's having a really good string. And that is just like the euphoria that Bullseye gives me. And that's why, and it keeps me coming back. When I finish a Bullseye match, even though I am smoked mentally, if you let me, I would get back on that range and I would shoot because I'm addicted, right? I'm addicted to it. Like it just gets me. And this is a thing we don't talk about too often. It's easier to practice for. I can practice Bullseye basically anywhere. I don't even need the handgun, right? I can just practice the Bullseye. And then for USPSA, there's just something about juggling all of those different things and constantly having to plan and do the thing that just like, it doesn't fit me very well. It's also why I find it super, super challenging. And that challenge kind of is what keeps me coming back to USPSA because I'm not very good at it and I want to get better at it. But hopefully this sort of evaluation of both sports helps you. I'd be really curious to see if there's something you think I missed. Please put it down. I'll respond to all the comments. But for me, I find USPSA to be harder. I'm talking about me personally. If you forced me to render a decision on which one is harder for the universe, I can't do that, right? Obviously, Bullseye's hard, right? It's hard because no one's ever shot a perfect score. Like it's super, super difficult, but it's difficult in the way that doing one thing to the nth degree with no margin for error is. With USPSA, it's hard because it's a give and take, right? Like if you're trying to get, you're only as fast as you can be and you're only as accurate as you can be. And so you're always trying to find that balance. Like, where is that balance? Is this to quote Jay Garcaza, is this an attack target or is this a target I need to take a little bit of my time on? And there's just something about that just whoosh, man, like I find very, very difficult. So that's my take. That's just one Bullseye shooter's take on both of these sports. I'm interested to know what you think. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Thank you all for visiting. This is a channel where we just discuss these things. It's a lot of fun. So I'm so happy that you came. Please, 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 please subscribe below, hit the little bell, do all the things, make the comments, right? We like that. And I'm going to leave you again with the 3 rules for life because I just love them so much and I love you. Don't be a jerk. Take care of yourself. Help other people. Thank you all very much. Hold hard and shoot straight. You know why else this works? Because CrossFit isn't an Olympic sport and powerlifting is. God, this is great.